SABC News, independent and impartial.
From an African perspective.
With African heads of states and diplomats gathering in Ethiopia for the 35th Ordinary Session of the African Union Assembly, many hope that SDGs goals on no poverty, no hunger and climate change are looked at critically for the benefit of the African population. Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema is among other African heads of state who are attending the summit. Channel Africa's Arthur Davis Sukopo has more from Lusaka.
As African leaders gather in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, for the 35th Ordinary Session of the African Union Assembly, whose theme centers on nutrition and food security, calls are coming in for leaders to make decisions that will help secure the continent. Several heads of state and governments are gathering at AU headquarters for the 35th Ordinary Session under the theme Building Resilience in Nutrition and Food Security on the African Continent, Strengthening Agriculture, Accelerate Human Capital, Social and Economic Development. Civil Society for Scaling Up Nutrition, CSO-SUN, is hoping to see leaders have tangible and workable outcomes from the session, considering that the continent has high levels of malnutrition that could be avoided if the right policies and strategies are being implemented. CSO-SUN Zambia coordinator Matthews Muhuru is hopeful that African leaders will look at what has worked and what is not working in the area of food and nutrition and put much effort for a healthier continent.
Zambia, as well as also other countries, just in December, they made commitments of how they're going to tackle the nutrition situation in the country, as well as also in the region. Among those commitments that they have made include, the meeting the SDGs, ensuring that the World Health Assembly nutrition targets are met. So we want to see how the president, can engage and make some of those broad commitments that they have made into practical and tangible, policy issues that their governments in Africa, as well as also the Zambian government, can follow.
According to a 2020 report of the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, more than 820 million people in the world were hungry in 2018. And in sub-Saharan Africa, there were 239 million under-malnourished people, with a prevalence of 22.8% as measured by the prevalence of under-malnourished, a Sustainable Development Goal 2 or SDG indicator number 2. Further, according to the latest Food Insecurity Experience Scale, 9.2% of the world's population, or more than 700 million people, were exposed to severe levels of food insecurity in 2018, with Africa having the highest level of 27%. Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema is making a maiden appearance at the African Union following his election last August and sees this as an occasion to engage with other institutions and investors that are willing to partner with his country towards economic revival. Hichilema says this year's theme, Building Resilience in Nutrition and Food Security on the African Continent, aligns perfectly well with Zambia's objectives. Mr. Muhuru is calling on Zambia's President Hichilema to fulfill promises made, translating them into action.
Because most of the times you would find situations where government leaders will make commitments, but there is no action plan attached to some of those commitments, and their commitments are just barely, statements. So with the president going, I think it will be quite interesting to see also how, the nutrition financing for Zambia can be enhanced, because most of the times we are never anywhere close to meeting the amounts that are recommended.
Noting that climate change effects have been abundantly clear on agriculture, further deciphering into food shortages and nutrition challenges, Mr. Muhuru is urging African countries to take climate change seriously and ensure that policies are put in place to avert such effects on nutrition.
These floods have actually disturbed and destroyed a lot of crop yields. So that part of the country, we expect probably, the worst situation where people's livelihoods, people's livestock and people's crop fields are being destroyed. So, for example, Zambia reduces chronic malnutrition on an annual basis by 1%. And this is when conditions are just okay, like you're not having droughts, you're not having flood, but now with the floods, I think even this 1% will be quite very difficult to attain. And I think what is also not fitting well for most civil society organizations is the fact that we're not also seeing that agency from government to deal with the climate issue.
Calling himself Zambia's chief marketing officer, Hichilema says he and his team of ministers, like Foreign Affairs Stanley Kakobo and Health Subia Masebo, that are with him in Addis Ababa, intend to take full advantage of the presence of global leaders to make Zambia's case. Governance activist Sam Zulu is reacting to the president's travel abroad.
He should also use this same opportunity or gathering of the African Union to consulting and collaborating, including asking for help where necessary. So this is a better opportunity for him and us as a country to showcase what we are able to offer in various sectors.
This is Hichilema's 10th trip abroad in just about 5 months in office. And his last trip to South Africa about a week ago was condemned by some opposition leaders and some critics. But governance activist Sam Zulu says it is only right for the president to make such trips.
I want to believe that those who have been criticizing the presidential trips really don't take into account the fact that the president makes calculated trips.
Reporting for the SABC's Channel Africa in Lusaka, Zambia, I am Arthur Davis, Scopo.
Innovators from South Africa's University of the Witwatersrand have developed a novel Wi-Fi-based solution for managing and monitoring foot count, social distancing and consumer behavior in shopping malls. The solution uses artificial intelligence to allow retail managers to make future predictions, improve security and deliver intelligence to stores about shopper behavior. For more on this, we are now joined on the line by Wits University's Dominique Adams. Dominique, thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.